Hi all, welcome to our webinar today. For those of you who haven't joined our sessions before, it's great to have you with us. I'm Jo Henderson from the Dux-Soup marketing team, and I co-host these fortnightly sessions with our Dux-Soup and resident LinkedIn expert, Giles Garnett, who I believe you can also see. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. In today's session, we'll be looking at how to get the best out of LinkedIn automation with our latest Cloud Edition. Now, I can see from the registration process that we have a really good mix of attendees today. About 40% of you are non-users. We've got about 30% who have a pro license, and about 30% of you have got a turbo license, and there's a few little stragglers in there that are already on cloud. So it's great that it's such a varied mix of attendees. So that's fantastic. So we have got a little bit of homework for you, but it will be rewarded. Giles, if you could just pop on to the next slide. It's really useful to get your feedback, and I know I say it every week, but it's really handy for non-users to get a good insight into how our products and services work and how you will use them. So with this in mind, anyone who leaves us a G2 review with today's date will get hold of one of our caps. I will pop the link in the chat as we get going with the session. So just before I hand over to Giles, if you have any questions, just add them into the question box on the GoTo dashboard, and any I can't answer, I'll put to Giles at the end of the session. You'll all be sent the recording of this session later today, so you can share it or watch it back. And I think that means that we're good to go, Giles.
Excellent. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, wherever you may be in the world. And thank you once again for joining us for the latest in our series of Dux-Soup webinars. As Jo's just said, my name is Giles. I'm Head of Professional Services here at Dux-Soup. And Jo is part of our fabulous marketing team. So today we're going to give you the lowdown on how to get started with Dux-Soup Cloud. And as Jo's already pertained to, we've got a mix of non-users, pro, turbo, and even some cloud users already. Get your questions in via the question box, and yeah, you'll get the recording in the coming hours. This is a getting started webinar, so the plan here is to give you enough to get you up and running as easily and as quickly as possible, whilst also giving you a few ideas on how to tailor things to your specific requirements. Please excuse me for falling over my words there. So this is the agenda. We're going to do what's Dux-Soup, why Dux-Soup Cloud, get you up and running with Dux-Soup Cloud, and then we're going to just do a quick demo, going through the steps, you know, making sure that you've got everything set up correctly, making sure that your cloud session is active, and then how you get people into your campaigns and so on and so forth. And then I hopefully will stimulate plenty of questions for the end of the webinar. Right. So what is Dux-Soup? And we cover this every time because we always have some non-users, some non-Dux-Soup users online, some new people who have been introduced to the world of LinkedIn automation. So what is Dux-Soup? It's a Chrome extension which you can use to mimic human behavior on the LinkedIn platform. And that could be the free version of LinkedIn, the Sales Navigator, or the Recruiter version. You basically find the list of prospects that you want on LinkedIn, and then in Dux-Soup to run your chosen activities against that list. And from the point of view of keeping your account safe, Dux-Soup mimics human behavior. It's very, very important, that part. We've now got 3 paid versions of Dux-Soup. So 10 years ago, coming up to 10 years ago, we released the Pro version. 5 years ago, we released the Turbo version. And last November, the Cloud version. So we've got all of the 3 versions covered. And if you look at that URL there, which maybe Jo can add to the chat, you can see all of the pricing plans there via that link that you see there at the bottom of your page. So Dux-Soup Cloud, why Dux-Soup Cloud? Customer feedback and demand, basically. We've seen a huge uptick in demand from business owners, from lead generation specialists who wanted to be able to have 24/7 availability of Dux-Soup and those lead generation activities. And you know, we listen to the feedback of our users from the webinars, from our customer calls, from our feedback portal, etc., etc. And this is why we prioritized Dux-Soup Cloud development last year. The importance of this is that, you know, Dux-Soup, all of the Dux-Soup functionality should be available 24/7. You still retain complete control over everything you're doing on LinkedIn. And it runs on our infrastructure. So all you need to do is define your campaigns, find your targets, and enroll them into your campaigns. Everything else then happens in the cloud environment. We do have, for example, somebody who was going away for a number of weeks. they enrolled several thousand people into their campaigns, they shut their computer off, and Dux-Soup Cloud took care of the rest of everything else then. It's very, very straightforward to get you up and running on the Cloud Edition, whether you're a new user, whether you're upgrading from Pro or Turbo, whatever it may be. It's a very straightforward process. Where do I start? You go to the pricing page, and you go to your pricing page or your profile in the Dux environment. You go to manage subscription, and you then choose whichever Cloud Edition that you want, whether that's the monthly or the annual, whatever it may be. Any existing activity you have defined, if you've got a Turbo account and you have campaigns defined already, they will automatically continue in the cloud. You'll have complete continuity with what you've already running. So don't worry about things falling down the cracks. All you need to do, you install the extension, you log on to LinkedIn, you log into the dash, and everything is there up and running for you. So we will take you through those steps now. We're going to show you exactly how that looks. We're going to show you what it looks like when you've activated your cloud subscription. We make sure that your cloud session is active, and then we'll go through the normal process, finding a list of prospects, building a campaign, and enrolling them into your campaign. And then we should see some activity then starting to happen on the cloud environment, which will then be able to look through the Dux dash and monitor what's going on. So without further ado, let's try and see if that all comes to fruition. If we go in here, bear with me 1 second. So here we are. I have Dux-Soup installed here. I have got the starter edition, and yeah, I would now like to activate my Cloud Edition. Now I'm going to not be putting in my credit card details. I will just be using a license key, which has conveniently been provided. So there we go. I've just put my license key in there. There you go. I see my trial has expired. If I now reload my extension, we go in here, and we go to the user, there we go. We see now that's automatically updated me to the Cloud Edition here. So I've now got my Cloud Edition working, and we go back to here. I've got my LinkedIn page here. So I'm already logged into my LinkedIn environment here under this Google account here. One thing to just notice, if anybody is new to these webinars, this is me on LinkedIn. Please do feel free to connect with me. I always say it, and I get lots of people who interact with me via LinkedIn. If you're going to send me a connection request as a result of the webinar, just mention Dux-Soup in your connection request, because then I know how you found me, and I'm far more likely to respond to you quickly. So yeah, do feel free to reach out if you haven't done already via LinkedIn. So here we are. I'm now logged onto LinkedIn. I have activated my cloud session, as in so far as I've upgraded my accounts to a cloud version. And now what I need to do is find my Dux dash. So if I go down to my Dux dash here, we should find that I have a completely clean environment here. There we go. Down on the left hand side here, I can see I've got my various menu items here. Now the most important one here is our cloud monitor. If I click here and I click Cloud Monitor, we can see actually it's already logged me in. So when I activated my session here, Dux-Soup checked to see if I was logged on to LinkedIn. It found that I was logged on to LinkedIn, and there we are. We can see here it's logged me in already. So my cloud session here is already active. If for any reason this cloud session times out, logs out, whatever it may be, I will get an email notification through to my Gmail or through to my Chrome account. So this is my Google account here is linked to this particular email address. I will get an email there if my cloud session stops. It will only stop if I theoretically if I log out of LinkedIn here. That's one of the things that would trigger that. There are very occasionally other issues which cause that, but you will get an email notification if that happens. So there we go. There we are. My cloud monitor says I'm active. So what we can do now is we can go into our drip campaigns. Interesting. I didn't think I had any campaigns. So let's get rid of this one. There we go. So what we'll do is we will create a new campaign. And I was going to target BDMs. So there we are. I'm going to look for business development managers, and I'm going to look for business development managers in Sales Navigator. And I'm going to just put a quick description in here. It's a webinar demonstration and the visit, connection request, and some follow-up messages. We're going to ask Dux-Soup to execute this in Sales Navigator, And here we are, we've got our various follow-up messages here accordingly. Yeah, that's quite interesting. Yeah, 4.5 years of doing webinars for Dux-Soup, and that's the first time we've had one of those instances. So thank you for those of you who are bearing with me. Here's our connection request, our follow-up messages, various bits and pieces there. All we need to do now is enroll some prospects into our campaign. Can you still hear me, Joe?
Yes, I can.
Okay, because I've just seen something ticking on the side there, and it just looks to me like I might be bombing out again. Okay, hopefully everything will continue as planned. So what we need to do now is enroll some prospects into our campaign. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to LinkedIn. We're going to Sales Navigator in this case, because I'm going to ask Dux-Soup to enroll some people from my Sales Navigator environment. And hopefully this will now work correctly. It was at this stage last time everything kind of fell apart. I'll tell you one thing we will do. Let's just double check to make sure our cloud is still active. Yep, our cloud session is still active. That's all good. So that didn't bomb out despite everything else. Now, earlier on today, I created a saved search here. So here I've said, like, I want to look for business development managers. There we go. I created a search. I saved my search here in Sales Navigator. So there's my Sales Navigator search, which has got 443 results. I said I want to look for business development managers, not advisors or people with advisor or relationship in their name. I'm looking for experienced managers who work in business development who are based in the Netherlands, just for argument's sake, just to be able to create a campaign here. What you'll have seen there in the top right-hand corner, as many of you will be familiar with, the Dux-Soup icon turned green and said, at your service. So all I need to do now is enroll people into my campaign, and then Dux-Soup Cloud will take over and everything should then happen. So if I click on my Dux icon here, I can now hit enroll my people here, select whichever campaign I want. Interestingly, it hasn't saved my campaign. Maybe I didn't save my campaign. There we go. Curious, let's just go back here and reload everything, because I have a feeling, because of the crash that we had, not everything's been picked up there. There we go. All seamless today, no technical issues at all, nothing to see here, people. And there we go, you see now it's not picked up my new campaign. Right, so what we'll do is we will go in here. Yeah, it hasn't picked up my new campaign at all there. Okay, absolutely seamless. BDM, let's create a new campaign. Let's
But at least everyone knows.
There we go. You see, it's not. Yeah, let's make this a slightly shorter campaign this time. We'll put a connection request in there. Let me find let me find the text from my campaign. There we go. Let's stick the connection request in there, and then let's stick in one follow-up message. Curious as to what's going on here. There we go. So we'll do that. We've got two days delay, and we will now press save. That's my preferred campaign there. Right, let's go back in here and refresh the page. And this time, fingers crossed, downhill with the wind behind. There we go. We can see that the BDM campaign has now appeared. So I've got a couple of options here. I can go through this lot here. I can line by line enroll people into my BDM campaign. Actually, alternatively, which is far more efficient, if I built a good list like I have here with 443 results in it, I go in here and I choose my campaign, and then I decide how many do I want to stick in there. So maybe I'd like to put 100 people into this particular campaign. I press OK. Dux-Soup now takes over, and it will start the enrollment process. Fingers crossed. No, it should be fine. Yes, I think we just had a few gremlins in the system just then. Obviously, there was some interruption with what was going on, and not everything had hit the database at that time when everything decided to bomb out. So what we'll see now, Dux-Soup's going through this list. It's enrolling everybody into this campaign. There we are, Eric and Jonathan, Niels, etc., etc. That dialogue is all happening there. If we now go to our Dux dash and we look here at our queued activity, we can see here, there we are, it's queued up my auto visits, because that's the first step of my campaign. Those have all been queued up there. And now if we wait for a few minutes, Dux-Soup will actually start to execute these activities for me in the cloud. Now, one thing I will just double check, because I didn't look at it, I can control when these things happen under the planner here. Now, as you can see here with the planner, I've got this currently to be not active at this time of day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to update that. There we go. So that from 4 o'clock onwards, was it 5:30 here, Dux-Soup will now be active for me. So I still have complete control of over when the cloud session will execute actions for me here under the planner. So the executability is that this auto visit to Eric will occur, and once that's occurred, we'll actually then see the connection request being queued up to go to him as well. So we see there's already queued up 46 activities here against this particular campaign, and that's all we need to do. Of course, there are some other things that we would do as well. We would monitor everything through our funnel flow. So here in the funnel, we can go in here and say, right, our BDM campaign here so far, we've enrolled 50 people, and what we'll see over the coming days, if I was to leave this to run for the coming days, we would actually then see invites, acceptances, etc., being executed here, and I would see all of the information down the bottom here with regards, this is the list of people who I've enrolled already, so we can see all their names here, and that's how we would monitor everything. Of course, if we were using CRM connections as well, we would see all of the activity. We can define our associated accounts here and make sure that data appears there as well, because we have the ability to be able to do that through the API using Dux-Soup Cloud as well. I'm just going to go in here and see if it's executed anything yet. No, it hasn't. I'm sure it will do in a second. It might be waiting till it's actually finished all of the enrollments. We're up to 75 of the 100 already enrolled. But very shortly, we'll then start to see Dux-Soup starting to auto visit profiles for me and starts to execute those. And it's as easy as that. You know, it's that basic process. We define our campaign, we put the content into our campaign, we find our matching group of people, our target audience, and then we just enroll people, and then everything then happens for us now in the cloud without us having to leave our computer on. So once the webinar is over today, then I can just turn my computer off, and I know that all of these actions are just going to continue to happen in the cloud environment for me. While that's doing that a second, let's just nip back to the slides a second. So yeah, make sure you've activated your cloud subscription. The Dux-Soup icon will turn this sort of raspberry color. So for those of you who are familiar with Dux-Soup, we've got the various different colors of the different editions, and now I've gone completely blank and can't remember what they all are. So Pro, I think, is red. Yeah, Pro is red. Turquoise is Turbo, and we have the raspberry color for the Cloud Edition there, and that relates to the color of the icon that you see in the extension there. So once Cloud is active, you'll see the icon turn this sort of raspberry color. Find your list of prospects, build your campaign, enroll, and monitor. I think that's probably a good point to move to questions. And while we're doing the questions, we'll also flick back and just see if we can see some action actually happening there in the cloud, and start to see the various actions sort of queuing up subsequently as well. Joe, do we have any questions? And you know, how was the stand-up routine while I was gone?
I'm not sure they would really rate the stand-up routine, to be honest. I babbled a lot and sent off a lot of links. But to be honest, I kept expecting to look up and see there's like 3 people left, and there weren't. So that was good. So thank you, everybody, for listening to me ramble on and for bearing with me. Also for letting me know that, yes, it had indeed frozen. At one point, I wondered if it was my system and not yours. So that's fine. Let me have a look then at these questions. So Katrina asked, I had a client sign up so I could take over their account on Turbo, and now I can't figure out how to manage it without getting access to their email. I love Dux-Soup, thanks, and want to be able to manage my client accounts, but my first try isn't working.
Okay, so what you'll need to do is you'll need to either have access to their Google account, or you create a Google account and then log into their LinkedIn environment from that place. And that's probably the best way to do it. If you create a new Google account, and there's a guide as to how to do that on our support pages. Create a new Google account, you then log on to their LinkedIn account within that Google environment, and then you run your Dux-Soup environment under there and then you should be able to should be good to go from there. Yeah, if they've already got Turbo, then maybe we should speak to the support team, and that can get migrated across to the Google account that you then have control of. That would probably be the best way to do that, Katrina. And the email address for contacting support is there on the page. Similarly, I can also point you towards these pages here, which I'll put the link to into the chat, wherever the chat is. There we go. There we are. There's the support pages there. If you just ping a message to our support team, they can help you, guide you through those various steps that I've talked you through there, Katrina, and hopefully that will get you up and running.
Lovely, thank you. And Katrina's already come back and said thank you. Fab. Can you please remind us how we find out which version we're on? You've just sort of gone through the colours.
Yeah. So let's go back here. So this particular one here, I've got Turbo. So you can see here I've got Dux-Soup Turbo, and if you've got Turbo, you'll see there's an upgrade button for Cloud. If you've got a red icon here, then that's Pro, and you'll also have an upgrade button down the bottom here. But if you've got that's also Turbo. Where's my other one gone? There we go. Interestingly, that's Cloud Edition. Oh, it's because it's turned green. There we go. There we go. So this is Turbo. Sorry, Cloud. It's been a long day. It's the Raspberry version, as you can see there. But yeah, the Cloud, the color of the icon there will tell you, and also down the bottom here you'll see it'll tell you along the top here whether you've got Cloud or Turbo or Pro. And also if you go to your options here in the top right hand corner, you see here I've got Cloud. It would tell you whether it's Turbo or Pro there as well. And then if you want to upgrade, you just go into the Dux dash and go to your profile. That will then here.
We can't hear you again, Giles.
They give you the opportunity to be able to manage your account from here. It'll come up in a second here. Absolutely seamless today, isn't it? There we go. You would see a manage your accounts button here if you were on Pro or Turbo, but I won't have that because I'm running from a license key here.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, let's have a look what else we've got. Can another member of staff add Pro to their browsers? Do I have to upgrade to Cloud? I think Debbie's asked a couple of questions actually, and I think Debbie, you will need to upgrade. So you're on Pro at the moment by the sounds of it. And to get the functionality that you've been looking at here, you will need to upgrade your license.
Yeah, so Pro is the well, I'll tell you what, let's was it Debbie you say?
Yeah, Debbie.
Yeah. So if you go to the Dux-Soup homepage, it's all rather slow today. I assume it's just because I'm on this hotspot. If we go to the Dux-Soup homepage and we look at the pricing section here in the top right, you can see the 3 different editions here outlined. We've got Pro, Turbo, and Cloud. And yeah, if you're logged onto your Google account, then you'll see the various options there for be able to whichever version it is you want. If you want to use the campaigns, you need Turbo or Cloud. If you want to be able to turn your computer off and have everything still running, that's when you'll need Cloud. So yeah, if you're running Pro at the moment, then yeah, if you want the campaigns, you will need to upgrade.
Fabulous, thank you. Right, who else have we got? Katrina did a review whilst you were offline. Thanks, Katrina.
Thank you, Katrina.
Let's hope it was a good one.
Hopefully it was at least entertaining anyway.
I've already installed Dux-Soup Turbo, but I'm unsure if and how many connection requests go out automatically when the status is set to enrolled.
Okay, so who is this from?
This was from Katrin.
Okay, Katrin. So when you enroll people into a campaign, you're queuing up any number of different activities depending on their level of connection that you are with them. So for example, if you enroll a 2nd or 3rd degree connection into a campaign, they will get the connection request. If you enroll a first degree connection into a campaign, they'll just get the follow-up activities. Now, there are some default settings set in Dux-Soup with regards the number of connection requests that Dux-Soup will send out for you, because of course there are limits on the LinkedIn side as to how many connection requests they'll allow you to send, depending on what type of account you've got, how long you've been on LinkedIn, how big your network is, all sorts of other factors. The default setting is 25 connection requests a day. That can be changed, but I would only change that if you are familiar with everything that relates to that. And the article I'm going to point you in the direction of, which you may have already shared, Joe, there is always a chance, is hopefully this one here. Let me find the URL. I've just stuck it into the chat box. It's basically using LinkedIn automation safely. It's probably our most widely read blog post. It's based upon everything that we've learned of running Dux-Soup for nearly 10 years now. If you, for example, enroll 200 people into a campaign and they're all second and third degree connections, the default setting is that Dux-Soup will only send 25 invites per day. So it'll take a week and a half to send out all of those connection requests, as long as you don't trigger any warnings or limits on the LinkedIn side, that is. But every account is different, and what we are seeing from LinkedIn is that if you're running a free LinkedIn account, they are very much throttling how many connection requests you can send. If they suspect you're using their platform for commercial purposes, they are throttling you back and making you forcing you to go towards a paid account of some sort on LinkedIn. So yeah, every case is different. It's a tricky one to get your head around initially, but once you understand it, if you have a read of that article, that will hopefully answer all of your questions. And our support team are on hand to help as well if you have any other further questions.
Thank you for that one. This is from Brian. If we have multiple turbo licenses under our account, will an upgrade affect all of them?
It depends on what sort of account you've got. If basically a license key would be you would have a turbo license key with a number of seats, or you'd have a cloud license key with a number of seats. It depends as to whether you're talking about individual licenses and you would upgrade them, or whether you've got an overall key with a number of seats. If you want to upgrade them all, then that's very straightforward. If you need to have some turbo cloud or some pro turbo and cloud, then you would need separate license keys for each of those, and that can be arranged through the support team.
Perfect, thank you. I've asked Brian as well if he's an agency or individual license holder. Let's have a look who else we've got up here. Do we need LinkedIn Navigator account to use cloud?
No, not necessarily. What I would recommend is if you're using cloud and you're therefore doing things at scale, you need some sort of paid LinkedIn account. Now there's there's various different tiers. The lowest price of which is, I think, the career professional mode or something like that, I think it's called on LinkedIn. There are all sorts of different tiers, but what we do know is if you've got a paid account, then you can do things at scale. You don't have to have Sales Navigator. That, of course, is, depending on where you are in the world, somewhere between $70 and $100 a month. But the career package is in the region of $35 a month. It still does everything through the regular LinkedIn interface, but the fact you've got a paid account does open up those possibilities for being able to do things at scale. And that ultimately is what LinkedIn are pushing people towards, a paid version. Sales Navigator has its benefits, but it also has costs as well associated with it. Yeah, some sort of paid LinkedIn account is probably more or less advisable these days if you're wanting to do anything at scale.
Okay, here's a good question from Paul. Are you able to move people in bulk from one campaign to another on the funnel?
Not currently, but that is something that we are looking at the moment. Now, what you can do, let's go back here a second. I'll tell you what, where were we? One thing we can look at now, let's have a look at our queued activity and see what's been executed. Oh, not an awful lot so far. Okay, so perhaps because I needed to refresh things because I where were we? Let's just do that a second. There we go. Yes. So can you do? You can't. Yeah. You can't. I've forgotten how he termed the question now, Joe. Please, can you remind me? Sorry.
Bulk from one campaign to another.
Not in bulk, but what you can do is you can switch them here individually. Now, what you could do is you could, for example, so say I've got 100 people here in this particular campaign, I could extract this data by using the copy button here, and I could copy all of the data out of here, create a CSV file, and then just enroll them into a new campaign by using the enroll from file button there. So if, for example, if I created a CSV file based upon data that I've extracted from here, I could then enroll them into a new file. The latest or the most recent enrollments would then take precedence over which campaign they go into. So it would effectively switch them from one campaign to the other. You can do it individually. As you can see here, we've got the switch button here. But yeah, you can do it in bulk by using, for example, extract the data using the copy button, create a CSV file of the people you want to move to whichever campaign, and then enroll them from file here. I think we probably will see a bulk switch option coming in the near future. Don't hold me to that one, but it certainly has been discussed, and I think it is on the radar for future development.
Okay, thank you. There we go. So that was for Paul. Hopefully that answered your question, Paul. You got some tips there. Can you use LinkedIn for other things at the same time Dux-Soup Cloud is running campaigns?
You can, absolutely. My advice, though, would be, depending on what you're doing, would be to make use of the planner. So what you'll find is here under the Dux-Soup options, you have got the planner here to allow you to decide when you're happy for Dux-Soup to do stuff for you. The reason I would make use of this is because, yeah, Dux-Soup probably doesn't need to run 24/7 unless you're sending out thousands of messages, which, you know, some people do try to do. What I would tend to do is I tend to have mine running at various, you know, sort of random times of the day, so it's not always the same pattern. And also, if I'm being particularly busy on LinkedIn at a certain time, I tend to put the robot onto pause because I don't want to be sending out lots of messages at the same time as Dux-Soup is. My personal preference. We have also seen in the past, and it seems to be less prevalent these days, that LinkedIn do occasionally say, there's more than one person on this account, we're going to log you out. We don't see that much these days because LinkedIn seems to have a better understanding that people run multiple devices all at once, whether it's your mobile phone or your tablet or your laptop or whatever it may be. So you are likely to have numerous active sessions across various different platforms. If you want to be absolutely sure, then yeah, if there are certain times of the day when you are messaging people on LinkedIn, then you may grey out the planner, for example, and then set it to active at other times of the day when you know you're not so active on LinkedIn. Of course, if you're just scrolling, if you're just browsing LinkedIn, that's very low risk. But yeah, it's there as a facility to help you manage and balance the activity across the various things there.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Hopefully that answered your question, Brian. I think it was Brian. Let's have a look. Can we switch from the Turbo to the cloud version at any time? That's from Virginia, I think. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely, yes. And everything that you've got in your Turbo account would seamlessly be migrated across to cloud, and everything would just continue as before. Just it wouldn't be executed. You wouldn't have the new tabs opening periodically on your laptop or your device. And yeah, everything would just happen seamlessly there. Excuse me.
Use this link and you'll get I'll send that to everyone else as well, actually, just as a reminder. So this is for a Pro or Turbo upgrade. So if you use this link here that I've just put in the chat now, it's a bit link. If you use that link, then you can upgrade from Pro or Turbo to Cloud, and you'll also register for one of our cloud caps, our Raspberry Cloud caps.
See, I've only got a blue one.
I've got all of them. Let's have a look. Ulrika's asked a question we've already answered about running in parallel on LinkedIn and Cloud. Let's skirt over that one. Can I use my LinkedIn while this is running? That's Mike. We've just answered that one as well. Where are we now? Can I use the support function? We'll come back to that in a minute. I'm new to Dux-Soup and not sure what I'm doing. That's from Bradley. Currently on Turbo, happy to upgrade, as not having my PC on seems to be making this a slow process. Although concerned, already had an issue and now use the planner, but if this is running in the cloud, does that mean we can't post or be added? That is a very long-winded way of asking the same question, Bradley. So we've just answered that one. Sorry, this is where I can't.
You can post articles. You can post articles, absolutely. That's not, you know, it's the messaging of people that, you know, if there's multiple duplicate or multiple messages going out to people, that's when we see there being a little bit of a risk. But if you're posting an article or something like that, then no, that's a relatively low risk thing to do in parallel, I believe.
Okay. Multiple turbo seats, we talked about that one. How many connections would you recommend a day if you have a paid version of LinkedIn Nav without getting flagged? That's from Paul. I think
yeah,
kind of depends on what it is that you're doing and how you run it at the moment. I'd say kind of.
Yeah. So just for completeness, then let me just grab this one a second. There we go. So this article, as I mentioned earlier, it's one of our most read blog posts. To answer your question, Paul, please do have a look at this checklist. Have you got a paid account or a free account? How big is your first degree connections? What other things are you doing on LinkedIn? What's your social selling index? All of these things contribute to the LinkedIn algorithm, which helps determine what you can do. Now, I tell this story again and again. I ran a test campaign last year, started it back in February with 25 connection requests a day. That's where I started. I increased it by 5 every week. And after sort of 8 to 10 weeks, I was able to send 60 to 65 invites per day without any issue at all. A, because I've got a Sales Navigator account. B, because I've got over 3,000 connections. And C, because I was achieving over a 45% acceptance rate. I was able to accelerate because I was being really successful. If I wasn't being successful, I would not have been able to accelerate the way I did. So all of these things will be factored into what you can and cannot do. So the only way you'll find out is by doing it. But if you're going to increase or accelerate your lead generation activities, do it gradually. Do not go from 0 to 100 in one step. Do it incrementally over a period of time, because it's much lower risk to do it that way. If you go in and you go on all guns blazing and try and send out 60 or 80 invites a day, you'll get a slap on the wrist from LinkedIn almost certainly. So play by their rules and you'll have more success.
I'm just trying to find been asked about best practices on sequences. I've got a couple. This is for Katrina. I've got a couple of examples that I'm just trying to find for you.
There's also a good blog post which went out about 6 weeks ago, around that, I think. I will see if I can put that one as well.
Thank you. Connection messages, we've had that one. What else have we got? Where did the name Dux-Soup come from? That's from Brian.
Where did the name Dux-Soup come from? You'll need to be familiar with the Marx Brothers. The Marx Brothers. There's quite a famous movie called Dux-Soup, I think it's called. Or there's certainly a quote from a movie which, if something is very straightforward, it's as easy as making duck soup. They already live in water, so all you need to do is cook them. And then the X was added because the original version of Dux-Soup was functioning within the Excel environment. So it was kind of making it as easy as possible to get data out of LinkedIn and into the Excel environment, and so hence it was Dux-Soup. And that's the story as to where the name came from.
That was for Brian. I hope that's.
And that was the very, very brief version. Look up the Marx Brothers if you want more information.
Here's a question from Dale, actually. One thing I don't understand, how does Dux continue to send messages in a campaign if a prospect hasn't connected?
So campaign messages only go once they've connected. So, or follow-up messages only go once they've connected. So you send your connection request, and then Dux-Soup listens for when they accept, and then that initiates the follow-up messages to go. Maybe I should have made that clearer earlier. But essentially, yeah, when you enroll a prospect into a campaign, you're queuing up those actions. When they accept, you send maybe an in-mail. You could send an in-mail in a campaign, as we covered in webinar 2 weeks ago. But no, very often it's a connection request. As and when they accept, that then triggers the queuing up of the follow-up activities. I think what we'll be seeing later in this year is some scenario-based campaign functionality appearing, whereby if somebody hasn't responded after a certain amount of time, that would trigger something else happening. But we're not quite there yet.
Fabulous. I've also got a question on here. I'm just trying to reply to Rachel. We've done that one. Could you just give everyone a little bit of lowdown on your support services, please? Your booster calls and such. And I say that because we have a question here from Mike, who says he's not currently a Dux-Soup or Sales Navigator user, but would like to use the support hour to have a discussion, I think.
Okay, so depending on what your circumstances are, we offer a number of different types of calls. What's not noted on here is also our high flyer calls for our high flyer customers, and we can touch on that if required. So if you're struggling with an issue, or we've got a technical issue, we will arrange a free support call for you if you require. If you need help building your process or whatever, and you sort of want a paid hour, then that's available either via a booster session, which is sort of where we do training up and enlightening people as to how to get up and running, or if maybe you're looking to integrate with another platform, or you're wanting to use maybe Zapier or Make or something else, and you maybe book a technical session. We also do demo calls. So for new users, for prospective new users, we will arrange a demo call, and you can arrange that through our support team as well. So there's all sorts of options available there. Basically, we want to make sure that we make it as easy as possible for anybody to speak to either myself or one of the other team, depending on who's appropriate, so that we can get you up and running, or give you as much information that's pertinent to your situation as possible. So for example, I did a demo call to some customers a couple of weeks ago. They've been thinking over things, and they are moving from a competitor's platform to Dux-Soup. So we're going to be doing a follow-up half an hour with them later this week to make sure that they've translated everything from the platform they used to use to Dux-Soup, to make sure that they have continuity of, should we say, process from their perspective, to make sure that's all those dots are joined up. So yeah, we try to make sure that we find the appropriate solution for people depending on what their requirements are. So yeah, through the services link you can see here, or just go to our support pages, email the support team, and they can point you in the right direction with the appropriate link.
Thank you very much. Can you share your LinkedIn profile? Katrina's trying to find you and she can't.
course.
Sounds like a date.
Let me find my LinkedIn profile. There's my URL. I've stuck it into the chat box as well. There we go.
There we go. I've just answered Astaire. What actions does the robot do on these campaigns? I think you've probably covered a lot of that.
Yeah, depends on what you want. It can be a connection request, it can be a follow, it can be a follow-up, it can be an in-mail, it can be an endorsement, basically anything. Pretty much all of the options that you see are the ones that you see when you are scrolling in LinkedIn.
Okay. Do you have an option to send first degree connections and automated message instead of focusing on getting the connection?
Yeah, absolutely. You can build a campaign for your first degree connections. What Dux-Soup will do, it will look to see if you enroll a first degree prospect into a campaign, it will look to see what level of connectivity they are. And if they're already a first degree connection, you can't send them a connection request. So it will just send the follow-up messages. So yeah, you can build campaigns towards your first degree network. And actually we had a really good, let me see if I can find the blog post relating to that. Yeah, everything's going really slowly, I think, because I'm still on my hotspot. Yeah, nurture. I think that's the one. No, I can't find it right now. But the example we had from, for example, Michael Simpson, I think it was, his nurture campaign sequence. He builds first degree focused campaigns, sending out messages to his first degree network on a periodical basis, very, very successfully. So yeah, you just use the same campaign functionality, and you let me just see if I can find the if we go in here and we go to enroll, yeah, everything really is very, very slow. I think, yes, just must be my hotspot, I think. Let's enroll, different ways to, yeah, enrolling first, second and third degree prospects into campaigns. So you can see here from this particular page here, it explains, depending on what their level of connectivity is, what will happen, whether it's a first degree or a second degree. So there you are, second and third degree will get the connection request. When enrolling a first degree profile, it will then queue up the follow-ups accordingly. So yeah, you can see that here in our support article. I will stick that into the chat box there as well.
That's fab. I'm just popping the reminder links into everybody as well for the to upgrade. And for you non-users who have joined us, there's a link there as well for a free trial for 2 weeks.
Yeah, if you've not used Dux-Soup before, then you get a free 2-week trial of Turbo. Gives you all of the bells and whistles, all of the functionality for 2 weeks, and then yeah, at the end of the 2 weeks, you can then decide what you want to do, whether you want to continue with Turbo, use Pro, or maybe even move to Cloud.
And to help with that, I'm just pasting the link in again for the next webinar, which I talked about while you disappeared, Giles, which is how to get started with Turbo. So that will be the version that your free trial is on if you choose to run it. We've got one last question. I'm very conscious of time, but Dale's asked very nicely, and I think it's a good question. I love using Dux, but find the fact that I can't delete a tag annoying. I've got loads I've spelled wrong or otherwise don't use. Is this a feature that I'm missing?
Is Dale using, what version is Dale using? Can we find out?
I don't think he's using Cloud because he's asked whether this is different in the Cloud. I don't know if I'll be able to find out quickly enough.
Because if you've got Turbo or Cloud, what you should be able to do, if you've got Turbo or Cloud, you can actually edit your tags. So here in the tag tool, as long as you've got your expert mode enabled, so here under your options, under the user options, and make sure you've got the user type expert enabled, Here under the Dux dash, we can now actually manage our tags. We can go in here and we can edit our tags. We can delete them, or we can edit them and merge them, whatever it is we want to do. So you can actually go in, as long as you've got Turbo or Cloud, you can go into the tag tool here in the Dux dash and edit the tags that you've got. So you can either remove the ones that you've made the typos on, or correct them so they're correct, and effectively merge them all together. It's a really powerful thing, and that's something we introduced, I think, about a year ago, to be able to edit those tags. So that's available with either Cloud or Turbo.
Okay, so hopefully that will have solved Dale's problem. So conscious of time then, I think we will probably look to close. I think I've bombarded you all with enough links now, but I hope today's been super helpful, and thank you for bearing with us on our few glitches. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Let me just check that you're not. Yeah, we've discussed the support calls already, and this session in 2 weeks. The only other thing to remind you about is if you upgrade using the link that I gave you that's on this session, then you will get a free Cloud Cap as well. So,
that's the one there, yeah.
That's the one.
Sorry for the magical mystery tour today, people. That's one of those things. That doesn't happen very often, but yes, life throws these challenges at us occasionally. But hey, at least we now know that everything's live and not pre-recorded.
If you want to hear me filling again for another few minutes, then the recording will be sent out to you later today.